and just do me a favor, get on the microphone and just say something, just so I'm sure I'm hearing everyone.
Hi,
Okay,
we can hear you clearly.
Hello, so
awesome,
I can hear you.
Good
awesome. That's
morning.
that's
Hi, good
beautiful.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
Thank you very much.
morning.
Yeah, it feels good to just get some feedback. It feels good to get some feedback. So we know why we are here. We are here to look at how we can create stunning presentations with Canva. Stunning presentations with Canva, the quick and easy way. So how did we? Just a little bit about myself before we continue. For those who don't know me, my name is Peter Okolie. I am a data analyst. It's something I've done for almost a decade now. And I'm a big fan of turning numbers into stuffs that people can really, really understand, stories that people can understand. I love using Canva to make clean, eye-catching slides that get the message across. And that's because Canva is just one very brilliant tool that you can use to actually make presentations happen very, very fast. And then outside of work, I enjoy spending time with my family, volunteering in charities, and sharing content that inspire people to live their lives with purpose. I can go on and on about myself, but I've just put a little something on a website that I have called www.iampeterokolie.com. If you get a chance, you could actually just check it out. But how did we get here? So this particular masterclass is as a result of a demand that actually came based on my YouTube channel. If you're meeting me for the first time, I've got a YouTube channel where I share information around tech, finance, and life in general. And and from time to time, I actually put in content there that just pushes that message around tech, finance, and life in general. And it's called I am Peter Okolie. That's the YouTube channel. If you are not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do that. But this is actually the video that started this class. So in this particular video, I was talking about some of the skills that changed my life as a person. And here I highlighted some of those skills. One of them was Canva. At the end of this video, I actually asked um, the viewers to request a video that they feel will touch their life. And I got lots of comments. Someone said Canva, another person said Canva and Excel, another person said Canva and Power BI, and there were a few others. There were DMs, there were calls, and there was a consensus. The consensus was we would like to know more about Canva. And so www.canva.com. If you are here and you don't have an account on canva.com, please go ahead and then just find some time and go to canva.com. You get a free account. It's free to start and use. So that's how we got here, and that's why we're doing this class. And the goal of this master class is to create designs, create presentations that will wow your audience. Create presentations that will wow your audience. So let's look at this particular audience. I believe those I'm talking to now, if you are here and you have filled the form, then this information right now is about this audience. We can see that 42.9% are employed, 23.8% are self-employed. So a total of about that's 66.7% of people are in that bracket where they are using Canva to improve their work and career. And so we'll be looking a lot around presentation, slides, sharing your ideas with other members of the team, with members in management, and that's why we're going to be looking at presentations. It's Canva, both for presentations. The next statistics that I pulled out from the form that we filled was around our use of Canva. 61.9% of people are saying that no, they are new to Canva. So you're going to permit me if I move a little slow when it comes to Canva. And 33.3% say they know Canva a little. So that's good. You know Canva a little, you use Canva frequently, but we're going to try to go with the majority of people and move a little slower with Canva. Are we still together? Yeah, so we'll just do that and carry on. So the next bit of information here was around the agenda. The first thing we're going to look at in the agenda is slide creation. What are the things we should look at when we're creating slides? The next thing we'll look at is designing with Canva. What should you look at when you are designing a presentation using Canva? And then the third thing we'll look at is some of the tips, the tricks and tips. I guess that's why this is a masterclass. We'll just skip through all the different parts about all those things that take so much time to learn a particular tool. I'll go straight to these three areas: slide creation, designing with Canva, and then the tips and the tricks. Looking at what we learned from our presentation, from our demography, the information will go from the slide. I will focus a lot on presentation with Canva, but I will also spend a lot of time on Canva itself and how to navigate Canva, just because I can see that a lot of people are new to Canva or are using Canva just a little. So now moving on to the next slide, and this is why we are here: slide creation and design. Slide creation and design. In this section, I just want to help us understand what are the things you should look out for when you are building your slide. The very first thing is this: keep it simple and clear. Stick to one idea, stick to one main idea per slide. Now, it's not impossible that, and as we go along, I'm going to show you my presentation templates. Before you make a presentation, you should actually have like a bullet point of what you want to achieve from that presentation. So I'll show you how I build mine so that you can use that to actually keep your ideas simple and clear. The next thing you want to do is this: you want to use consistent designs, and then you want to use visuals over text. I've seen people do presentations where they've got so much text in the presentation, and then it feels like, whoa, there's too much text here. There's too much text everywhere. Yeah, there's too much text everywhere. The next thing is tell a story. What I mean by telling a story with your presentation is this: as much as possible, your presentation should follow a sequence. Every storyteller, every writer knows that a story has three parts. It has the beginning, the middle, and not the end. It has the twists. So the beginning is where you are telling us what the problem is. In this instance, in this slide I'm presenting, the beginning, I told you what information I gathered from how we started this masterclass altogether. The fact that I have a YouTube channel, and in that YouTube channel I had a particular video that attracted a lot of comments that said they wanted to learn Canva. And also the fact that the information we gathered from the form shows that we have quite a number of people that either know Canva a little or don't, or are not too familiar with Canva. So that's the problem statement, and that's how you should start your slide. Then you go to the middle. The middle is where you talk about the solution. We are currently in the middle now. I'm talking about some of the solutions to creating better slides, and I'll go on to talk about how to use Canva itself. So tell a story. Tell a story with your design. I said there's a beginning where you talk about the problem, what you want to solve. The middle where you talk about your solution, your strategy. And that's what we are now. We're in the middle. I'm talking about Canva. I'm talking about how to write better slides. And then there's an end. The end is where you now give a call to action. Now, if you don't follow this sequence, it's possible you lose your crowd in the middle. Yeah? The next thing you want to look at is you limit your animation and transitions. Now, what are animations for those that are not too familiar with this? Animation are things like, you see, each time I click on my clicker here, this pops up. It comes in like that, it comes in like that, it comes in like that, it comes in like that. Those are animations. And transitions are the way I move from one slide to the next slide. So by clicking, you see the way it just dissolves. This transition is called a dissolve. And I'm going to show it to you when we begin to build the Canva slide itself. This transition, look at it from here to here, you see the way it dissolves. It gives a feel to your presentation, but you should limit animations and transitions. Don't go all out and go crazy with it, just putting transitions everywhere, animations everywhere. The problem with that is that you're going to lose your audience. You're going to lose your audience when you do that. So limit your use of animations and transitions. Then the next thing is this: use data wisely. So use data wisely. The truth is that when you have a slide, there's so much information, but if you decide to put all that information into your slide, you will agree with me that your slide will become clunky. If you are following me up till now, you'll notice that there are a lot of things I'm saying that are not in the slide right now. And the reason is, when you put all that information into your slide becomes very full and people may lose touch with what you're saying exactly. Take for instance, when I started this video, I put in just two charts. One chart that showed what people are doing and why they need to know Canva, and the second chart that showed their use of Canva. I've got a few other charts, but I've not put all of that there because those two are the most relevant for this particular masterclass. So use data wisely. The next thing is this, and this is exactly what I'm doing right now. Plan for speaking, not reading. When you are presenting, it's important that your plan is on what you are saying, not what you are reading. A lot of times you see people, they have a slide that is full of text, and that is a problem. That's a problem because to put so much text into your slide, your text becomes very small. People begin to squint to see what you are saying. However, you might take this down. There is a rule. Keep your text a minimum of 34 pixels. Minimum. And the reason for this is that way people can see it from a distance. So make it just a bullet point and then plan to speak, especially when you are making a presentation. The next thing, and this is where I said, tell a story. A beginning, a middle, and then an end. In your end, you should plan to summarize your main message. Plan to summarize your main message, and then that is it. So these are the points you should note. Remember, I said that I will spend more of the time in Canva, but I just had to bring this to your notice. Keep it simple and clear so you stick to one main idea. Use consistent designs. If you notice, my slides have been looking consistent, and that's an example. Use consistent designs, and then use visuals over text. So if you have something to say, use a visual rather than use text to explain everything. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Then the next thing is to tell story. Tell a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then limit your animations and transitions. The next thing was use data wisely, plan for speaking, not reading, and then end by summarizing your main message clearly. These are the key points for building your slides. Finally, rehearse your slides. When you have built your slides and all of that, it's important to rehearse your slides for three reasons. The first one is this: to ensure you don't have typographical errors in it, because you are human. You could have typographical. The second is to also see that you are working within the time frame given to you for the presentation. And the third, to see if you can improve on what you've done. And remember, improvements may mean taking things out. Are we together? Rehearse with your slides, and it will help you to achieve those three things. Please note, if you have questions in between, or if it looks like I'm moving a little bit fast, please just raise your hand or just get on your mic. I can see that, and I will just take it off from there. Now we're going to the second section in our agenda, and I believe this is this area where a lot of people are looking forward to, and this is designing with Canva. How to design with Canva. Before we jump into this, I will just ask a quick question. Is there anyone here that doesn't have a Canva account? If you don't have a Canva account, now is a good time to go to www.canva.com. Are we there? So if you don't have a Canva account, let's go to www.canva.com, and then we're going to start the class. Now, this part of the entire presentation, the aim is to make it as interactive as possible. So if you need to stop me to ask a question, please just stop me, ask a question. We're going to spend the bulk of the time here. I told you I will show you the way I plan my presentation. So for instance, you can see this particular presentation was designed in Canva. That's it. And I'm going to walk you through this. But first, let us take you through Canva. At this point, I would just want you to do a response. If you have Canva installed, please just get off your mic and just say, I have it.
I have Canva installed on my PC.
Good. Any other person have Canva installed? Not installed, have Canva accounts. Does any other person have Canva accounts?
I have Canva account.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam.
Yes, I have Canva.
Canva. Okay, thank you very much.
But I don't know if it's the basic or it's something I need to subscribe to.
Beautiful. Now, thank you for pointing that out. Now, Canva has the basic and the pro. The pro version of Canva allows you to have, and I'm using the pro version, and that's because I use Canva a lot. So I'm using the pro version. The pro version gives you a lot more features like removing backgrounds, you get a lot more templates. However, if you have the basic version of Canva, it will work just as well. And we're going to see that. So for most of us on this call, I'm expecting that we'll probably have the basic version, and that will be fine. And I'll show you some of the differences between the basic and the pro. So thank you very much for pointing that out. There's a basic version and there's a pro version, and it's fine if you're using either of them. Good. So if you're shy to come on the mic, you can feel free to just drop in the chats that I've got Canva. The reason is that way I know we're following along. Yeah? Good. So if I just see...
I don't have Canva, but I'm creating an account right now.
Beautiful. So if you don't have Canva, if you don't have Canva, you can just quickly go to canva.com and then create an account. It's free, fast. It's free and easy to create an account on Canva. Good. So while I can see that quite a number of people have Canva already. Oh, I just created an account. Beautiful. Good. I have an account. Someone is saying I am trying to. Okay, good. Lovely. So I'll just admit all. Good. So let's get started. Now, Canva is a beautiful tool for design. I think I'm quite fortunate that I started doing designs long before Canva came. I started doing designs when CorelDRAW and Photoshop were like industry standard for design. So I can actually appreciate how easy it is, in quotes, to use Canva. But take note of this. I learned this a long time ago. Everything is first hard before it becomes easy. So if it feels hard to you at this point, please don't think that someone is trying to make it seem like, oh, you're not getting or something. But just know that everything is first hard before it becomes easy. So Canva compared to some other softwares is easy. And I'll walk you through such that before the end of this masterclass, you'll be designing Canva like a breeze. You'll be doing it with so much ease. First of all, let me just show you, like, do a quick walk around Canva. When you open Canva, the first thing you see is you see this page. It's a beautiful page. You can decide to create, yeah. If you just look at this button here, you can see create. And we create, it asks you, okay, what do you want to create today? Do you want to create a sheet? Do you want to create a document, whiteboard, presentation, social media post? So if you are someone that you've got a YouTube channel like myself, so most likely all of us have social media handles, and you have to make posts, you can actually just use Canva to create awesome social media posts. And there are lovely templates for Instagram, for Facebook, for LinkedIn, and all of that. So that's the first button, create. We are currently on the home page, so that's what you are seeing here, the home. I can just take these tabs out. This column here shows you some of the things that you've done, some of the most recent things that you have done. That's what you see on this column. Then some of the projects you are working on shows up here in projects. Then templates. And I'll be spending a lot of time on templates. Don't forget, like I said, if you have questions, feel free to just stop me and then ask your questions. So I said I'll be spending a lot of time in templates here, and then brands. Now look at this. Can you see this crown icon here? This crown icon tells you that the only people that can enter here are people in first class. I'm just kidding. The only people that can enter here are people in pro. So if you're in basic, you might not be able to use this brand. This is where you set your brand toolkit. So if I click on that, it just gives you an opportunity to set your brand toolkit. So what a brand toolkit is take, for instance, if you look at a bank like Monzo, I don't know if there's anyone that has Monzo account here. If you have a Monzo account, the first thing that happens is if anybody besides you receives an alert or sends out money, you know, because of that sound, that's a brand. The color of their app, the fonts they use, those are the brands. And the thing is, when you begin to do designs, you want to just set a brand toolkit so that anytime you want to do a design, it will just remember that brand toolkit. So for instance, if I do a design for Aldi, it will look a certain way. If I do a design for Lidl, it will look a certain way. If I do a design for Sammy's, it will look a certain way because they have a brand kit. So this is where you set that. But like I said, because you see this crown here, if you're in basic, you will not be able to do that. And then, is there anybody here that has not heard about AI? If you haven't, you need to begin to research AI because there's AI everywhere. And here on Canva, there's AI. The next thing is, let us look at templates. Remember I said we're going to spend a lot of time on templates. If I come back to home here, what I've just done now is just to give like a brief run through of what Canva is and the different areas you'll go to in Canva. Templates will give you like a breakdown of templates that are currently in the system, and then immediately you can just click on presentation. When you click on presentation, it gives you like a list of different presentation templates. Now I'm going straight to presentation templates because this is where we want to spend most of our time. Are we still together? This is where we want to spend most of our time. Now the very first thing to do is, before you even come here at all, is understand, okay, what type of presentation do I want to do? The presentation, you ask yourself, what type of presentation do I want to do? I will do just one page, then I will come back to build an entire presentation, but first showing you what my presentation strategy is, my strategy for designing presentation. So looking at this, I don't know, do you have, whoever, if you are looking at it, can you see presentation templates in yours as well? If you can, please just say yes in the chat.
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can. Good. You can see presentation templates. Now, what I'm going to do with my presentation template, I'll just pick one. And then the beautiful thing is this. You can begin to even type words in. So, if for instance, you want to do a presentation on animals, you can say animal presentation and click on search. That was not the right spelling of presentation, but it's smart enough to know what I'm trying to do. So it gives you a template that looks like animals, something that will work well for what you have in mind. So if I want to do a presentation on performance review, so for those that, so if I say performance review presentation and I click on enter, it gives me a presentation style that looks more like a performance review. Now, after this has happened, the next thing is to say, okay, which of these templates looks like what I would like to keep? And then you can go to one. I could just decide, let me just pick this one. Now, when you scroll across, it shows you what is in that template. I'm looking at this one now because you see it is not a premium template. It doesn't have this crown on it. That means if you decide to follow along with what I'm doing, you could just choose this same template. So if I click on it, I can just open it. It's called Red Geometric Classic Work Performance Report Presentation. Now, when you click on that presentation, it just tries to see, oh, are you sure this is what you want? If this is what you want, look at other examples here. But I want to stick to this particular one. So what I'll do is I'll just click on Customize this template. Customize this template. Now, when you've clicked on Customize this template, it comes in. Like I said, I will work on this first page. After working on this first page, I will go back to show you my strategy for designing how each slide should look. Because that's very important. Remember what we discussed earlier about slide creation, those 11 points about slide creation. We're going to use them shortly. So now, because this is already a template, I can decide I want to change a few things. It makes it a lot easier. But these are the tools that Canva has provided. This is the design tool, just in case you want to change what your design is. Then you have the elements. Now, elements helps you to bring different elements, just as the word implies. Elements are things that you can just bring in to your design. So if I click on elements and I just say logo, so if I say logo for company, let me just say company logo, just because I want to stay on Canva. So company logo. Now I've looked at this company. I'll pick a company logo. And can anybody just in the chat, the first person that can just give us the name of any company that comes to your mind, let's use that. The first person that can drop that in the chat, any company name. It can just be a fictitious company. Google. Someone said Google. Thank you very much. That's the first word that came, Google. Now, I don't know if we're going to have Google logo here. But because somebody has said Google, oh, lovely, we've got Google logo here. I'm going to bring in Google. But as you can see, this is a pro version. Now, I'm going to show you how to get this from the internet. So imagine I definitely need to use Google. I can just create a new tab and I can just search for Google logo. It's giving me different versions of Google logo. Let me see. Save as. This is a JPEG version. I can just save this. And if I come back to Canva, I can, remember we're looking at elements, and I was showing you that you can bring in, I was showing you that you can bring in an element like this one just by clicking on it. Just by double clicking on it, it comes on your page. But if, for instance, you wanted to bring in something else that is not within the elements in Canva, so for instance, like what I had just gone to download from the internet, I will do that by coming to upload, and I can say upload, and I'll go to that location where I saved it. In my instance, I saved it here. Double click on it and it is imported. So for instance, if you had your picture you wanted to bring in, if you had a chart you wanted to bring in, you can just double click and then bring it into Canva. So by clicking and dragging, I've brought it into my page. And look at this. If I want to use this particular logo, it's too big. What I can do to reduce it, do not reduce it from the top. That's going to crop it. What you do is reduce it from the diagonal. So like I said, you do not reduce the size of any image from the top or from the side. This is why. When you take it from the top or the side, you do something called cropping. You see, it's deleting it rather than reducing the size. However, if you want to reduce the size, take it from the diagonal, either the top, any of the angles, and then you can reduce it that way. Any of the angles. And then remember, I want to use it to replace this. If I just click on it, and then you can either click on this button that says delete, or on your keyboard, just say delete. Like that. Click on it, and then on your keyboard, you say delete, or you click on the delete button, this delete icon here. If I click on that delete icon, it's gone. Now, to move anything, just click on it. When you click on it, you'll see two things at the bottom. This one, it tells you to rotate. So if I click on this, it rotates it. And if you are familiar with Microsoft Word, Ctrl Z is to undo. If I press Ctrl Z here as well, it will undo. I'm going to share a list of shortcuts in Canva. I'll share with everybody in the WhatsApp group. I'll share a list of shortcuts, just like the way you have shortcuts in Microsoft Word, Excel, all of that. I'll share a list of shortcuts so you can see all of that. But like I said, these two buttons, the one under will help you to rotate what you've done, and the next to it, you can use that to carry your item. So you see I'm carrying it by clicking on this. It's called a hairline. If I click on it, I can carry. You might be fortunate sometimes to click on it this way and then just carry around. But the right thing to do is pick this hairline and then carry it around. Google. Now let's take this other logo out. Click on it and then just hit delete. Out. Now I'll show something else. This work performance reports, I could decide within myself, I want to write something else, not work performance reports. I want something more meaningful to me. And maybe I want the topic of my dissertation or my reports. Can somebody just suggest a title for this? Not work performance report, just any title that we change this to. If you can drop it in the chat, just any title. Annual reports. Thank you very much. Annual report sounds good. However, if we just come here, double clicking on it, I can just double click select, and I can call it annual just by typing annual reports. I've got that there. But what if I wanted to write something else that is not currently on the page, not currently on the template? Remember, we're working with a template. What I'll do is I'll come to the next tool here. This tool is called text. Now, let me say this quickly about text. There are two types of text. There's the curved text and the not curved text. The curved text is called serif, and the non-curved text is called sans serif. Now, when you come into the text, you can just decide, oh, I want a heading, I want a subheading. And in this case, since we have a heading, I want to add a subheading. Just by clicking on it, it will drop something here. And I could say annual reports, and then I can just a positive outcome, to a challenging year. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. The positive outcome to a challenging year. Now, see what I've just done there now. This fell into two lines. If I want to make it just one line, remember I said with an image, if you pick it from the side, you'll be cropping it. With a text, if you pick it from the side and drag it, you'll be moving it down. And if you drag it across, you'll be stretching it out like I've done. Remember I said this should be as practical as possible. So on your own Canva, if you can try it out so that you can ask questions, please do that as well. But similarly to an image, if I want to reduce the size, I can do two things. I can take it from the diagonal and then just reduce the size like that. Or I can come to the size, font size here, and then maybe just change the size to 34. Enter. I would like to also point something out. Whenever you pick an item in Canva, the tool up here reflects that item. So for instance, I picked up a text. It's telling me, oh, do you want to change your fonts? I can click on that and change the font to any font I want. Maybe use something that is not too serious like this one. A positive outcome to a challenging year. And then please take note, everything we are doing now, you can use it for anything. You can use it for slides, you can use it for Facebook posts, you can use it for YouTube thumbnails, and in fact, anything. Flyers and all that. So a positive outcome for a challenging year. Just by coming here, you can change the fonts to anything. You can also change the size. I can decide I want a different color. If you come here, you can pick a different color. Maybe I don't want to pick red because I've got red already. I could pick this color. Yeah? This particular font doesn't allow us to use bold or italics, but it works the same way. Just by clicking on it, it will make it bold. So if I come here now, this allows bold. If I click on B, B is bold. If I click on it, B is bold, I is italics, U is underline. See that? So I can do that there. I can decide for this one, I can decide I want to have a strike through. Strike through will just, if I just want to have an effect that says strike through, I'll just come here and click on strike through. And there's a strike through like that. If I decide I want to automatically make everything uppercase, yeah? If I decide I want to automatically make everything uppercase, I can just click on this icon here and everything becomes uppercase. If I decide that, oh, and in this instance, I might decide, okay, I want to make it's already centralized. You can see it here centralized. But if I click it again, it has become left align. Click it again, it has become justified. I would most likely use justified when I have like a text. Like when I was showing the slide and I had a profile about myself, because there's so much text in it, I just made that justified. So it's all straight out. And I can decide I want to make it right aligned as well. You see, it's right aligned. But in this instance, it looks like left align will work. So I'll put it left align. I'll bring it up there. A positive outcome to a challenging year. This annual report, the space in between the annual and the report seems like it's too much. To edit that, if I come to this other tab that says spacing and I click on it, I can reduce the spacing between each line. So by just moving the slider front and back, you see it's increasing and reducing the spaces in between. So I'm able to increase and reduce the spaces in between. Just like before, I can change the font of this slide, of this particular word. I can change the font and I change it to Legion's pattern. And I may want to use this kind of font because it is heavy. It is heavy. At some point before the end of this, I'm going to tell you 4 parts of every design. I would use League's pattern because it's heavy and it's saying something, because this is the key point of what I'm doing. Annual reports. And remember, just like before, I can drag it to make it, or if I just come to the front of it, I'll say go to the first line. Just by pressing this backspace, it's gone to the first line. And then I can just, like before, bring it down. Annual reports, a positive outcome to a challenging year. Now, this a positive outcome to a challenging year, I can decide that I want to put it on top of something. By going back to elements, if I just take out the search there, it shows me all the elements. I can decide to bring in a shape. Remember, if at any point it feels like I'm moving too fast or you're not following, just raise your hand and call me back. That's the reason for this particular class. If I click on shape, it comes on the page. Just click on shape, comes on the page. And just like before, just by stretching, bringing it down, I can come here. I can bring it on top here, and I can drag it across. But can you see that? Okay, let me make this color black. Let me just do this. I can make this shape color black just by clicking. Remember what I said, when you pick an element, the toolbar up here changes to reflect that element. This element is a shape, so it's telling me, do you want to edit the shape? Do you want to change the color of the shape? I'll change the color of the shape to yellow, or let me make it deep yellow. I've got that yellow there. And then if, for instance, in this instance, I want to front, you can see that the shape is on top of my text. But what I want to do is put the text in front of the shape. And this is something that you will see happen a lot. Maybe you have 2 pictures on a page, but you want to put one picture on top of the other. In this instance, I've got this shape in front of my text. I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I'll go to position. You can see position up there. And then from position, it's telling me, do you want to send it to, look at, it has changed here. It's telling me, do you want to send it backwards? Do you want to send it to the back? These 2 things, they sound like they're the same, but they are not. Backward means go back 1 step. To the back means take it to the final back, absolute back. In this instance, they would do the same thing because there are just 2 items there. So I'll just say send it to the back. And because I've sent it to the back, my text is now in front of it. Canva is designed in layers. So everything is in layers. And you can see this second option, this second tab here says layers. It's telling me that outcome is in front of all of this. So a positive outcome to a challenging year. Now, because this is yellow, this color doesn't look good on it. I'll just change this color to black. a positive outcome to a challenging year. The next thing I want to do here, and like I said, I just want to make a very, very basic first page. The next thing I want to do here is change this image. To change this image, I can just do something. Go back to Elements, or I can go to Upload and look for an image. Maybe I want to change it to an image I got from the internet or something. Let's go to the internet and look for an image of a let's say annual reports. Annual reports, enter. So I've got this image, annual reports. I've got this image and all of that. If I click on that, I can just say open in new tab, and I can decide to just save image. I can just save this image. Now that I've saved the image, remember how we brought in our Google logo earlier? I can do the same. Come to upload, click on upload file, and I can bring that design into my Canva. You can do this for almost anything you're bringing in. You can bring in videos, you can bring in audio. The scope of this particular class, I'm not going to talk about video design in Canva, but you can bring in videos, you can bring in audios. And when I get to tips and tricks, I'm going to show you that you can bring in PowerPoint slides. So that means when somebody has given you a PowerPoint, rather than reinventing the wheel, probably your company has their own PowerPoint presentation that somebody used last year. You just take that same presentation, bring it into Canva, and then you can now use the power of Canva to tweak it a bit and then bring it back to them. So I've come back to upload. And then I want to change this particular image. I can do this just by click, drag, and drop it inside there. Just like that. Click, drag, drop it inside there. But you see, for the purpose of what we are doing, I'm losing a lot of information by using this item. This item is called an image frame. So because I'm losing information, I don't think I need a frame here. I can just click on delete. Just come here, click on delete to remove that. And then you can see the frame. This is the frame. This image frame was gotten from elements. And under elements, if you just come to frame, you see different types of frame. So for instance, if you wanted, because you wanted to put your face there, you want a circle frame, I can bring in this frame, bring it there. Remember, reduce it from there. I brought in the frame, then come into uploads, and I can just bring in maybe a picture of my face, put it in the frame, and you see how that circular frame works there. So that's an image frame. That's how an image frame works. So for the purpose of this design, this image that we just brought in, I don't need this frame. I can just delete it. I just pressed delete. And just like I said, if you click on it, you can just click on this delete icon, just like that. Delete. So now that we've done that, the next thing you want to do is just drag and drop, and it's in. And I can just reduce the size, bring it here. And if I decide, I can just put it somewhere like here. The reason I'm putting it here is it just gives that feel of this brown flows into that brown. Or if I want to make sure that the brown of here and the gray here and the gray here match, I can just change this color. When I click on color, you can see that this picture I brought in, Canva is smart enough to be able to say these are the colors inside that picture. So if I change the gray that is here to this gray, and then, because I can see there's another gray here, change this gray as well to that same gray. By the time I put this picture here, it feels like it flows into each other, kind of. So it feels like this gray flows into that gray and then all of that. So annual report. Now, let me put this picture here. Just now, look at what I'm saying here. Now, you see the picture is now looking like it's under my annual reports. I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I'll go to position and I can just say move to front, and now it's on top. I can put it there like that. So that's putting two pictures and understanding how position works. But looking at this first page that we designed, you see that something is wrong. And at this point, I want to just mention 4 elements of every graphic design. We've looked at the tools you are going to use. Those are the main tools you use for your design. You can carry around, you can change the color now, you understand positions. Before I talk about effects and animation, there are 4 things you should note in every design. First thing to note in every design is your text. And I said that there are 2 types of text. There is the serif and sans serif. If you look at this design that we've started, we're not done yet. This design, look at annual report. I used a strong text because when you are doing a design where your emphasis is, you can't afford to use a cursive font. The reason is it's too playful to be taken seriously. So in this instance, this is curved and I'm using it as my, let me increase the size a bit. I'm using it as my subtext. And I can afford to have it as curved because it's just additional information. Yeah, because it's just additional information. So it is that. The second thing you should note after your text is your main image. The first thing is your text. The second thing is your main image. Now, your main image is this, annual reports. Your main image, in our case, if you look at the flyer that we did for this particular masterclass, there was a man standing there and then presenting. That was the main image. Your main image should be something people can easily distinguish. Looking at these 2, it's difficult to mistake which one is the main image. Obviously, you can say, okay, probably this is the person presenting, but this is my main image. And one of the ways you know that is the main image is they don't have the same size, so they don't have the same emphasis. The first is your text, the second is your main image, the third is your layout. Now, in layouts, layout is how your design stands out, the angles. If I put Google here, for instance, and I put call here, and I put maybe this one here, somehow it feels disjointed. Now, Canva has a beautiful tool that helps you to align what you are doing and helps you to have something called white spaces. Now, you see, as I'm dragging this closer, Canva is telling me now you are aligned to annual and you are aligned to the top there. Now, it's telling me I'm aligned to annual and I'm aligned to the top of my main image. This looks better. Call now. If I bring it somewhere here, you see now it's showing me that I'm aligned to annual. I can do that. And I can bring this image and bring this image here, somewhere here. And it's telling me I'm aligned to the bottom of that. So that I don't just have my design all over the place. All over the place. Now, the fourth thing, is your finishing. Finishing is where you begin to look at things like your background, things like your colors. This particular report is looking all over the place because this red is not going well with this orange. And this orange is my main image. So if I don't have to, a must use red, then I have to go with something that looks towards orange. So if I click on orange and I go to change color here, Just like before, it's telling me that these are the colors in my main image. And that's the same thing even if it's a picture. You can see the picture here. If this picture was my main image, it's telling me these are the colors that are there. So I can decide I want my orange to change to this, and I want this other red here to change to this. Then these annual reports should also change color to this. You see that this page is beginning to look more like it. At this point, because right now I'm looking at finishing, at this point, this yellow doesn't feel right, and this black doesn't feel right. It feels like it should go the other way around. So I'll change this yellow to black, and that black text that is no longer showing, I can change it to something like this orange, just so that everything feels like, or rather than change it to orange, you can see this gray here. This black will work well using the gray that is there. So this gray here, and then I can leave my text either as black, because black should still come out, or I could leave it as, I think white will come out there as well. Let's see. White will come out there. So you see, it's beginning to look more like it. Unfortunately, this Google logo doesn't quite feel like it, but there's really nothing we can do. But because we are doing our finishing, we can just add some things that will make it look a little bit acceptable. Probably add a circle and then make the circle orange. Since the circle is orange already, bring it here. Then there's something called transparency. Transparency is how thick that shape, that color is. And just like before, when you click on a shape, you see the tools up there. So if I click on transparency, I can reduce it this way. So now because I've added that transparency on Google, you see the way, although that Google color wasn't initially looking like it, because there's some orange around it, it's now feeling like this page is not looking too bad. So this, in a nutshell, is how you can prepare your report. Now we've created a slide. The next thing you want to do with your slide is you want to say, I want to put animations. You know the kind of animations that you saw when I was presenting earlier, where when I click a button, this comes, when I click a button, this comes. I can do the same here. I can do it two ways. I could say, come here, just by clicking, and I could just say, animate everything on the page. If I just click on animate, and I just say, do a corporate animation, it just gives me one animation for everything on the page. And let me show you what it looks like. If I say present, and I just say present, I have something to present in the background, but this should come up. So it just presents once, everything comes up. And if I come and add an animation to say annual report, come in typewriter, positive outcome, just merge. Annual report design should just come in like this, shake zoom. This image should just pop. Call now should just ascend. If I present this, it will give me an opportunity to just click and then those effects happen. The reason why it didn't happen at this point is because I have not specified that when I say annual report, it should come in appear on click. So if I click on this, it will appear on click. A positive outcome to a challenging report, to a challenging year. A positive outcome to a challenging year. If I just specify that it should appear on click, then if I come to this image and say appear on click, and I come here and I'll say appear on click, and I'll take this as well and say appear on click. When I now decide to present, each time I click, it comes up, click, it comes up, click, it comes up, click, it comes up, click, it comes up. Now, this is how far we've gone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So you can see my screen. So this is how far we've gone. And you agree with me that it's beginning to look more like it, and that's because of those 4 areas of design that I mentioned. And just so that I'm sure that we are still following together, if you can drop those 4 areas into the chat. I said there were 4 areas that you should look at in designs. The 4 areas, if you can just drop into the chat, let's see if we are still following. The 4 areas, if you can just, anyone that comes to your mind, just drop it. There were 4 areas. Good. The layout, thank you very much. Good. Oh, somebody dropped the entire 4. Whoa. Text, main image, layout, finishing. Who else knows the 4 areas? That's it. That is actually it. It's so exciting when you're a call like this, and everyone is following through. So thank you very much, and we will dive in. Text, thank you, Flora. And this is it. So the text, the layout, the main image, the finishing. Now those areas, if you remember when we had red here and all those colors, it wasn't looking like it, but now it looks more like it, and that's because now we have aligned the color. We have looked at the spaces. Look at the spaces around. It's called white spaces. So it's not directly at the edge, and then it is aligned. The angle is aligned, and that's something we did here in Canva. We tried to make sure that everything we're doing was aligned. It's very, very important, because that way you don't lose your text. And then remember what we said about your fonts. Try to ensure that the minimum size of your font is 34 minimum. But because this is actually a subtext, I could go ahead as 45, because you want people to see it from every angle in your room. Now we've come to this stage. Building this page up to this stage has actually tested our understanding of the different tools in Canva, has helped us to see how we can bring things in from other sources like a website, how to use the elements, the element feature here in Canva, how to use the text. We've done all of that. So the same way we created one page, we can create multiple pages. And we're going to go through it very, very quickly. Good. So we're looking at this, and then we looked at animations as well. Just before we left for that break, we quickly looked at animations, and we saw that when you click on presents, and this is something you would use, when you click on presents, just by clicking, and because I've set it there to move on click, when I click, this shows, that shows. When I click, that comes up. When I click again, this comes up. When I click, that comes up. And that is how animations work. The last thing I would show before I show you the way I would work on a slide is transitions. If you remember when I was talking earlier, I mentioned that transition is how you move from one slide to another. In this case, from page 1 to page 2. In between, if you move your mouse in between here and you click, it gives you different types of transitions. Look at that. That's called flow, stack, swipe. The beauty of transition is that it gives your audience that feel of something is happening. And so if I come here and I say, if I use this for instance, flow. If I go back to present and say present, when I click, my animation comes up. But when my animation ends and I'm moving to the next slide, did you see that feel? Unlike, look at it again. If I move to the next slide, it gives that vibe. Unlike this, Look at the way this went. There's no transition in between this and this. No transition. But here, you can see that transition. It gives that feel. So even when you are presenting, it's good to just add some transitions so that people can follow along. Remember, you're telling a story, so you need to have a flow. So that is how transitions work. Now, coming back here, I promised I was going to show how I would do my presentation layout. Now, when you are planning your presentation, for instance, you are planning to do a presentation around, for instance, an annual report, or you have to do a presentation. It could even be you are giving a talk. It could be a talk. You are talking about marriage and how people should live their lives. The first thing is to have your draft of what you are going to say. But you can't afford, like we said earlier, to put everything into your slide. So what you have to do is to plan your slide. Slide 1, which is my title slide. For instance, this. Let's just this is our title slide. You have your title of your slide. Then this is like our subtext, like what we had in our example by this. And then these graphics, because remember we said text, visuals over text. And then this graphics just gives me an idea of what I should put there, so that when I'm on Canva, I'm not struggling for ideas. I just want a person standing on a peak. So someone standing on a peak, symbolizing clarity and direction. That's it. The second slide, what is purpose? Purpose is the reason for being. It's bigger than your job. It gives meaning to your life. That is what is going to be in the slide. Basic. But remember, when we're talking about how to build a slide, we said focus on speaking, not reading. So because we are focusing on speaking, not reading, these are just our bullet points. But in my head, and also because I have a manual, a manuscript, that manuscript has details of everything I want to say. That manuscript has details of everything I want to say. And then I have those key points. But in my head, I know everything I want to say. But to design that slide, a target with an arrow hitting the center, or a compass representing direction and intentionality, that's the same way I have for every other slide in my presentation. So I have it written out. I have an idea of the graphics I want to use. I have it written out, the bullet points. I have an idea of the graphics I want to use. And now that I have all of this, I can come back into Canva and build a design. Because of our time, I would not run through this design from start to finish. However, the information we've used to design this first page here, we will replicate it. We can replicate it to design every other page. However, I wanted to just show this slide and how I can use this layout to create my presentation. So I'll start with slide 1. And if I come back to search, I can say I want to look for a presentation on purpose. I can say presentation on purpose. I'm doing presentation of purpose so that it takes me quickly to something that I think, oh, let me just see. Let me see what's here. What's here? Purpose. Brainstorming, looking at it. And I want to also try to get something that is not paid for. So that, good. This is pro. Something that is not paid for so that we can probably work together. Now, this looks kind of bland, but I'm going to use it for 2 reasons. One, it's not paid for. That means if you decide to use it, you can follow along with me. So if I take this and I can just say customize this template. One of the things you can do, and please, if you need to stop me at any point, raise your hand, ask a question, and then let us know. One of the things you can do is make it your own, make this template your own by changing the title here. You see where my arrow, my cursor is? If you double click there, you can just change it and just say purpose recall. Purpose Slides. Purpose Recall is the name of my book. I will share how you can get that book for free. I've mentioned it twice here already. I'll share how you can get it for free. But now you can change the title to Purpose Slides to whatever you want, but it begins to show that it is now yours. Now the next thing I want to do is, if I go back to my blueprint here, I have it here that the title is Purpose Recall, Choosing Purpose Over Pressure by Peter Okolie. So if I come back to my slide, I can just change that. Purpose Recall. And because this font looks like it can work on one line, I will just make it one line. Purpose Recall, maybe double click to go in, and then I can increase the font size, bring it here, and then the subheading was Choosing Purpose Over Pressure. So remember, just like before, I can just either take this text, or I can come to text and I can choose a subheading, which I will just say Choosing Purpose Over Pressure. Choosing Purpose Over Pressure. So if I just pick this, remember, pick the hairline, bring it down there, and I can change the font. Just like before, I might want a font that is not too serious. If I scroll down, there are lots of fonts to choose from. Even though it's not too serious, I don't want it to be too playful at the same time. So I can come and I can just say, because I know there's a font called Laura, I can just say use this font. And come there like that, Choosing Purpose Over Pressure, bring it down a little, and I have that. I don't need this here. I can just delete. Then the third thing there was by Peter Okolie. If I come here, I could just say by Peter Okolie, by Peter Okolie. So if I come here, I could just do that. And if you notice, everything seems to be left aligned. This name is right aligned. I can just come to alignment and click. Now it's left aligned. Bring it in there. I can increase the size of my font. 35 is fine. And then just align everything. Make this one also left aligned. Align it. Now notice how when I move and it's going to be aligned, a line shows, a guideline shows. So I've got all of that there. This dot, I could just bring it here to just signify that I'm doing something there. The last thing I want to do now is, if I go back to my presentation slide, I said a silhouette of a person standing on a peak. I can come here and copy this. Control C. And like I said, I'll send you a list of some shortcuts in Canva. Control C. If I come back there, I can just say, I'll just come here and I'll just go to elements, just like before. And then I can look for that element, because Canva is actually that brilliant. Control V. I'll paste it there and I'll say a silhouette of a person standing on a peak. And look at that. So it's brought out all of this information. And I think I don't want to use a graphics, I want to use a photo. So if I click on See All, it's showing me a photo. And I'm looking at this photo. And I think I'm going to use this one for two reasons again. One, I could use this or I could use this. And my reason is, this one is free. This is also free. And I think I'm going to use this one. So if I click on it, it comes in. And then now that it's in there, I can just drag it here, increase the size so that it fills up that space, bring it here like that. But you will notice something. I've got some weird, this is coming on the background and it's not looking too good and all of that. So what I can do is, I can make it fade that way. I can make this picture just fade towards that side. I can do that using like I can just call it a white strip or a strip. So if I pick this strip, for instance, now this is a photo, so okay, I can change the color. So if I pick this strip, for instance, I can just say, pick this strip, change the color to one of the colors that are in this picture. Remember how we did that before? I can pick that color. And then, remember I said you can pick from the side there and just rotate. Rotate it. And then I can do that. Now that I've done this, I can just increase the size of that. So it feels like my my design is cutting at this point. But I'm not done yet. I'm still working on this. Just keep pulling it till it goes that. So you see what has just happened? It feels like my design has stopped there and something else has taken over. At this point, I can now realize that purpose recall doesn't look too good here. Beyond that, I know I had some effect at the back of this picture. So if I just use position and say send to the back, now all of this has come on top. Let me delete this. I don't need, sorry. Let me just delete this one. I don't need this. Bring this back to where it was here. These small dots, they add an effect. And I'm going to send it to the front. But I'm going to reduce the transparency. Now, everything I'm doing is being recorded, so I'll share this video with you as well. I'll just reduce the transparency. So that way, that effect is just there. I'll do the same thing for this background, or I could just duplicate. I'll move the fonts, all my text, everything. I'll move this to the back. Then move my picture to the back. And just have those small dots just there like that. Purpose recall looks like it will be better on white because it will come out better. Then choosing purpose under pressure, I could give it this color or give it a color that is like that, and I'll show you what I'll do with that shortly. Oh no, I'll give it the same color with, I'll give this the same orange color with those small dots there, just so there's some consistency there. Now, I could do a little more with all of this, but I just wanted to show first of all how I can use this concept I had in mind of my first slide and bringing that in. If I'm happy with the way this slide is, for now I think I want to move this a little bit this way. Move this a little bit down, move purpose under pressure a little bit forward here, this a little bit forward here. And these dots, I feel like I don't want these dots on top of my text, so I'm going to move the dots. Instead of saying to the back, I'll just say backwards, 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 backwards. So that purpose recall can just stand here. Choosing purpose under pressure can stand there. My font can stand there. And the likes. So this is how I've built my first page here. And we did this together. The next thing I want to do is the next page. And that's where I come here and I say, what is purpose? Purpose is the reason for being. It's bigger than your job or role. It gives meaning to your life. If I come here, I'll just say number 2. Now, observe that I've used this color and I use this other color. So to maintain consistency, I have to try to bring in those 2 colors. So if I come here and I can see the color I used here, so it maintains that consistency. and I can just bring in those points that I used, and my heading was what is purpose. If I come back here, I can just say what is purpose. Double click. Double click and just say what is purpose? Question mark. I've got that there. And then I have 3 bullet points here. I'll just bring them in. Purpose is your reason for being. It's bigger than your job or role. It gives meaning to your life. I could just copy those 3 just for the purpose of this example. And I can come here and just paste it. Control A, Control V to paste. Take out those extra spaces there. And I've got this. I would love to keep them line by line. I could just copy out and then paste it. Paste that there. Paste. Purpose is your reason for being. Now, this font size seems quite large for me. I'll just reduce it to 40. Enter. Purpose is your reason for being. I'll move this so that they are aligned. Remember aligning, finishing. And then I could just duplicate this just by clicking on duplicate. And I can just type the next one here, which is it's bigger than your job or role. It is bigger than your job or role. And I'll make sure this is left aligned so that subsequently it just makes sense. Left align, and then align it. It is bigger than your job or role. And then the last thing I want to just do now is it gives meaning to your life. If I duplicate this and just click on duplicate, bring it there, and I'll just say it gives meaning to your life. Gives meaning to your life. Now, those are my 3 points. But of course, I've got stuff to say. If I want to add a bullet point to this, just click on lists. It has added bullet points. And I've added that. And of course, I can add effects to it. I can add the animations. But the last thing we said here, and that is something that is in our list here, a target with an arrow hitting the center. If I pick this up, if I copy that and just bring it into my design, I can go back into elements and then just search for that. Canva is smart enough to know what I'm looking for. And then I can see. And then now that I've seen all of this, I can decide I want to get something that feels relevant and consistent. I could just say, let me take this man. Because of course it's free. You can see there's no icon there. So it's free, so you can use it. But I'll just drag it and drop it here. So that basically it has taken that frame. What is purpose? If I want to maintain some consistency around this design, I will just come back to elements and then bring in a shape, for instance. This shape, put it over my design. And then remember transparency like we used before, reduce the transparency. The reason why I'm doing that is somehow it now feels like this image is not too off from the design, because it also has a kind of like color feel as the design. I can take it a little lower, maybe take it to like 45. I can type it in, say enter. And just like before, we said we can add animations. So I can say what is purpose. Animation is that it should on click, it should ascend. Take the next one. I'll just say animation on click, ascend. Remember, we said we want to make sure that you don't use too many different animation. It makes it difficult to follow. Ascend. What is purpose? I can say coming sharply. On click. One thing I didn't mention before, I'll mention it now, is that you can order how it should appear. For instance, now what is purpose is going to show last because that was the last thing I clicked and added an animation. But I can just move it to the top here. So that way, when I click on this slide, it is the first thing to show. Now, the concepts we've used so far for these two slides is the same we will use for every other slide in this template. But I'm going to stop here because of our time and because I want to go into the last part, which is the tips and the tricks. If I present this, you'll see I have a slide ready and we did this together. So if I do that, purpose recall, then click, takes me to the next page. What is purpose? Click again. Purpose is your reason for being. Click again. It's bigger than your role or job. Click again. It gives meaning to your life. We've put together this slide. First, understanding the tools in Canva. Then looking at this demo presentation slide, what we want to do, and then building it from there. That's the same way we'll use that same idea to build every other slide. Now, I will just go to the last part of the third part, I'll say, of our presentation. And that's the tips and the tricks. I'll say this quickly. A good artist borrows ideas, but a great artist steals ideas. It's important that you understand that there's nothing wrong with picking ideas from different areas. The important thing is to make it your own. Just the same way we are looking at templates right now and then upgrading the templates and doing some work with it, you can do the same with different sources. Some of those sources are ChatGPT. If you are not using ChatGPT because you feel like you are cheating, then you are missing out on a lot. You can use ChatGPT to develop ideas, to see what your script should look like, and also to see how your slides should look. So use ChatGPT. The next one is the templates in Canva. We've been looking at some of those templates in Canva and they are brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant. The third one, and it's something I use from time to time, is slidego.com. I'll show you what slidego.com looks like. Before I say that thank you, I'll show you what slidego.com looks like. So if you look at this website, it's called slidego.com. They've got so many different templates. And the beautiful thing is you can check maybe from financial templates. You can see different stuffs with charts, with bar charts and all of that. And the beautiful thing is you can download a template from here. Look at that download button. You can download this template and I'll show you quickly. When you've downloaded this template, you can come into Canva and upload it. The same way we upload images, the same way we upload text, you can upload this template into Canva. So if I go to upload files, just like we did before, I can just click on upload and it will upload that template into Canva. So with this template, I can now start a new design. So have we got questions? Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.